More than half of the NFL players who were planning on visiting Israel in an all-expense-paid trip decided to not go after all once they realized that this trip had a little bit to do with propaganda. Okay, so apparently 5 out of 11 NFL players decided to drop out of this trip because they didn't realize ahead of time that the government was essentially using them as public figures to spread a pro-Israel message that they might not necessarily agree with. So apparently a storm of criticism had developed last week after the Israeli tourism minister claimed the players making the trip would serve as, quote, ambassadors of goodwill for Israel. Mychal Bennett, the Seahawks defensive end, withdrew from the trip on Friday in protest at being, quote, used in such a way. He said he would visit Israel on his own terms. In fact, he made a statement about this, and he's like, look, yeah, I want to go to Israel. I'm really curious about the country. I want to learn about the history, but I also want to understand what's going on with Palestinians. I want to visit the West Bank and Gaza Strip. And so it's just interesting that, you know, the officials in Israel didn't consider the fact that some of these NFL players might be privy to what's going on in that part of the world.
Well, you know, I think that they were just too brazen about it.
Yeah.
And so this kind of stuff happens all the time, and not just with Israel. People want good PR, and they know celebrities are good PR for their countries. And actually, I don't saying they're goodwill ambassadors for Israel. I don't think there's any problem at all. Israel's a good, strong ally. Nothing wrong with that. But they went further, and that's where the issue was.
Yeah.
So Gilad Erdan, the Israeli Minister for Strategic Affairs and Public Diplomacy, said, the ministry I lead is spearheading an intensive fight against the delegitimization and BDS, that's the boycott, divestment, and sanction campaigns against Israel. And part of this struggle includes hosting influencers and opinion formers of international standing in different fields, including sport. So basically, he's saying, we are using this for a very specific political purpose. Now, some people think the BDS movement is terrible and they make a lot of charges against it. Mm-hmm. Others think it's perfectly rational. Economic pressure works, and so it worked in South Africa. And some people are very offended by that analogy, but the reality is Israel's overreaction to the movement leads you to believe that they're worried it might work.
Yeah.
And so it's one thing to say, hey, come see our wonderful country. That's great. It's another thing to say, now I'm going to use you as propaganda in my political fight against this movement.
Yeah.
And the people who are leading that movement, they're not intending it to be against Israel. They're, in their minds, intending it to be in favor of the Palestinians, to make sure that they also get a state, they also get sovereignty, and they also enjoy freedom. So now if you're working against those interests, wait, I didn't sign up for that. Yeah. And that's why Harry Belafonte and Alice Walker asked these players to not go. And once they found out that that was part of what was going on here, that's why half of them were like, no. We're very happy to go to Israel. We're not happy to be part of a political propaganda campaign.
Yeah, so let me read a little of Mychal Bennett's reaction to all of this. He says, I was not aware that my itinerary was being constructed by the Israeli government for the purposes of making me, in the words of a government official, an influencer and opinion former who would then be an ambassador of goodwill. When I go to Israel, and I do plan to go, it will be to see not only Israel, but also the West Bank and Gaza, so I can see how the Palestinians who have called this land home for thousands of years live their lives. I want to be a voice for the voiceless, and I cannot do that by going on this kind of trip to Israel. So look, that's a pretty strong statement, but I also think it's a fair statement. Who wants to be used as, you know, a tool for propaganda, regardless of whether or not you agree with a country's policies, right? And so on one hand, I actually commend the officials in Israel for being as transparent as they were. You know?
I think they screwed up. They didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think they meant to be that transparent.
Of course they did. And it was super brazen, but I'm glad that they were brazen, and they allowed these players to actually make a smarter decision for themselves based on what they're, you know.
I don't even think this is a close case. Of course, Mychal Bennett and the others are right. That, hey, I do the same thing. I'm totally in favor of going to Israel. That sounds like a fun trip. I don't even mind being goodwill ambassador, which they have some issues with the phrasing of that. But if you say, hey, then I'm going to imply that you agree with the right-wing government of Israel, and all of their policy positions. No, I didn't sign up for that. And if I go to Turkey, that doesn't mean I agree with the right-wing positions of the Turkish president. Same for Russia, same for America. When you come to visit here, if Trump lets you into the country, that doesn't mean you like Trump. So those are two different issues. Let's put some watchers on the wall, investigative journalists to run down the Trump administration and the establishment. You can make that happen. tytnetwork.com/go.